Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we are going to look at another example of utilizing triangle congruency in proof. The directions here say to explain how to prove that triangle is congruent, triangle QPS is congruent to triangle PQR. We're just going to go ahead and prove it completely just to kind of make our lives a little bit more simple. So, what do we know? We know that PS is congruent to QR. Oops, sorry about that. We know that PS is congruent to QR. So go ahead and make that mark. PS is congruent to QR. We know that angle QPS, so QPS is congruent to, this angle right in here, is congruent to angle PQR. So PQR, that angle right in there. We want to prove that QPS is congruent to PQR. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make our lives just a little bit easier and try to break these triangles up. So if we go ahead and make the triangle here, there's S, there's P, there's Q, and on the other side here we have the second triangle, and there's R, there's Q, and there's P again. We stated that this angle is congruent to this angle. This side is congruent to, oops, I'm sorry. This side is congruent to this side. All right, now we're in business. So what else do we know? Well, I see here in this case that we end up having a reflexive property being used, right? So we have a reflexive property being used right here and right here because PQ will be congruent to itself. Okay, and so now we got to think about it. Now, where we are going, all right, where we are going is we are now showing triangles congruent by 5 particular ways. Well, where did we just get to? Well, we just saw now that we have a side angle side triangle congruency. So let's go ahead and just finish up the proof. So the proof says that we know that PS is congruent to QR, and that angle QPS is congruent to PQR. That is given to us. We know that we said earlier that we had a reflexive property happening. So we have reflexive property, meaning that PQ is congruent to itself. And now if PQ, if I go PQ, it means I have to reverse the order and go QP for this round. That is our reflexive property. And last but not least, we identified it as being side angle side. So triangle QPS is congruent to triangle PQR by side angle side triangle congruency theorem. Now let's go ahead and answer the second question that it has here. It says, explain why triangle PQT is isosceles. Well, let's just kind of think about this for a sec. Well, what ends up happening here is that since these triangles are in fact congruent triangles, this angle 1 and this angle 2 are also going to be congruent to one another. And so if that angle 1 and that angle 2 end up being congruent to one another, well, then we end up having our converse to the base angles theorem. Our converse to the base angles theorem, letting us know that QT and PT are congruent as well.